I've had my Steam Deck for less than a month and it already has burn-in? What's going on? This video discusses a flashing effect which may be harmful to those with photosensitive epilepsy. If that's you, you should put the video in another tab, watch it in the background, or just stop watching entirely. Yeah, this is your warning, click away now. Okay, good. This is F-Zero. It's a game released in 1990 for the Super Nintendo Entertainment System, and I've been playing it very often on my Steam Deck. Like many games from that era, it has strobing effects. Back then, the harm these effects can have for some people was not very widely known. The displays used back then were also different. Most homes used a CRT rather than today's LCD or OLED panels. Consequently, LCD panels are not often used with the strobing effects that were more common back then. Last week, I discovered that my Steam Deck was getting image retention while playing F-Zero. You can see that the image on the display matches the engines on the racer. This would imply that the flashing is causing the image retention. By the end of this video, I will show you how to prevent this issue, but first, it may be helpful to explain why this happens. As explained in the Blurbusters forums, anything that does exactly half hertz or quarter hertz flicker with no dropped frames for a sustained period can create temporary LCD image retention. Over time, the flickering will cause static electricity buildup in the pixels. This static electricity keeps the pixels from switching to a new color when they are supposed to, and this will result in image retention that we see. In these conditions, a pixel can behave similar to a capacitor and hold onto a charge. While this thread is talking about specifically very high refresh rate displays, I think that the same phenomenon is happening on the Steam Deck. But as the static electricity is discharged, this will go away naturally. In my own experience, it rarely lasts longer than 10 minutes. I've also noticed that this happens more when the device is under higher heat, such as when the brightness is maxed out or when you're playing a very intense game. When I first mentioned this issue on the Steam Deck Discord, there were many ideas about what may be needed to fix it. One user told me I would think anything to prevent it would need to be built into the display or firmware of the deck or something. I really hope this wasn't true, since Valve would need to issue a fix through the software updates or hardware revisions, and that is unlikely to happen for a very specific set of retro games, especially not for people who have already received their Steam Decks. Another theory was that black frame insertion, or BFI, might resolve it. I was skeptical of this solution too, since the deck's display runs at 60 Hz, and inserting a black frame for every other frame would effectively drop that down to only 30 Hz, and it would induce some very noticeable flickering. The idea of BFI for preventing image retention was tossed around on the Blurbusters forum, but that site is specialized for high refresh rate displays. Their tagline is for everything better than 60 Hz. So this isn't really applicable for the Steam Deck. So it was up to me to do more digging. I discovered that shaders might be the answer to the problem. RetroArch, the software used to manage many of the emulators on the Steam Deck, includes the option for users to select shaders for their games. These shaders are often used to simulate the look and feel of old CRT displays, which were often used for these games originally, but we can also use them to reduce image retention. After trying many shaders on their own and mixed together, I think that these three are a good solution, and I do combine them. They are Mix Frames Smart, Mix Frames, and Anti-Flicker, and combining them produced good results in my own testing. The basic idea is that these shaders will look between the current and previous frames for places with flickering and similar behavior. Then they will take an average of the current and past frames to smooth out the differences. And it does this without introducing motion blur, or other issues that might ruin the experience. In fact, it's barely noticeable. Before I show you how to set up these shaders, let's first take a look at the results. The image retention issue is most noticeable when the display is set to maximum brightness. So I'll play through 5 races at the highest brightness, once with the shader on, again with it off. In between, I'll let the Steam Deck cool off for about half an hour. And here are photos of my machine after each race. On the left is without shaders, on the right is with. As you can see, the shaders did indeed reduce image retention, though it was not completely removed. If you look close enough, you might still see it. I'd say I'm happy with the results, but if you find a better configuration, you can share it in the comments, and I'll perhaps pin it if I like it. If you're interested in doing something like this, here is how you can set up shaders on the Steam Deck. I'll be assuming that you've already set up RetroArch and at least one game. Start your game and then open the quick menu by pressing on both thumbsticks. Near the bottom, you'll see this option for shaders. Scroll to the bottom and you'll see a setting to change the number of shader passes. This should be set to 0 by default, but we want higher. This should be set to the number of shaders you intend to use. For me, that's 3. Next, select the shaders you want for each pass. Once they are selected, go ahead and hit Apply Shaders. Then you can configure the shader parameters if you like. I didn't configure them, they worked just fine out of the box for me. Before you close the quick menu, we do need to save our shaders so that they open by default next time you run the game. Otherwise, you'll have to do this whole process over and over again whenever you want to play the game. Go to the Save option, and then hit Save Game Preset. But we're not done yet. We also need to save an override. Exit the shaders menu, and then choose Overrides option below it. In here, we just need to save a game override. Once that's done, the shaders you've chosen will be applied each time you open the game. And again, here are the shaders that I'm using. As I mentioned before, this setup didn't produce flickering enough to prevent image retention altogether, but it came close enough that it didn't bother me anymore. And if you have a better configuration, you can share it in the comments. That's all I've got for you today. Please like this video, click the subscribe button, and enable notifications if you'd like to see more from me. You can also join my Minecraft and Discord servers by the links in the description. You can catch my live streams here on YouTube or on Twitch every Monday and Thursday from 7 to 9 PM Central Time, and hopefully I'll see you there.